one, go.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Real Deep Podcast. We got some interesting little snippets here that we wanted to get.
What are we talking today about, Raj?
Well, we got a couple of different topics, but first we want to get to some reactions. After that, we got some
switching things up this week.
Get a couple short, punchy clips out here for the people, covering a couple topics that have been in the news.
Right.
So we'll just do a deep dive on that.
Sure.
A little bit shorter than what we're used to, but we're always tinkering over here, finding out what works, right?
Let's go. So this first image here, let me give you some preface. Sometimes when you go into properties and these listing agents, when they sell you on their services, they're like, listen, we're gonna put notices and signs all over your property to show you the features of the house. And like, let's say brand new kitchen, walk-in closet, this is a wolf stove or whatever, and
highlight sometimes you'll have other ones that say like, hey, lock the door, don't let the cat out, just like they're meant to give you an idea, bring your attention to something, right?
Exactly. All right, so the first one here is an example of that, but this is not what to do.
I mean, I would say like when it comes to staging a place,
yes,
that note right there looks like a realtor. That's a realtor's job, right?
They
right?
went on Word. They went on Word and they typed something out and printed it out. Honestly, well, that sign is good.
Yeah,
like, you want that sign because you don't want people to use the toilets in your.
Yo, save some trees, bro.
Yeah.
So you could put that same thing on two, like, and then cut it in half, and you can put it on all the toilets. You have two. Come on.
But like, okay. Take note that this is not on a toilet or in the washroom. This is on a nightstand.
Now that you mention it, never occurred to me because I looked at it. It said, "Sounds about right."
Right.
But like this kind of stuff happens. It's not a big deal. It's a small fix. I could chalk it up to a person not having their coffee or whatever.
Right.
Attention to detail. It's one of those things. Like I chuckled. When clients see it, they chuckle. It doesn't take away from the house.
No.
I've seen some funny things happen with people trying to ensure that you don't use the toilet.
Oh, what did they do?
So taping it shut.
Wrap?
Yeah, taping it shut. Saran wrap I've seen. One of the funny ones is turning the water off.
Oh,
right. And then
yes.
you don't know, but person doesn't realize or something like that, and they leave a surprise guest. They leave something in the toilet.
So a tip for all those out there, if you do ignore the signs and still use the toilet, which you shouldn't do, don't do a test flush. Just in case there is. Just in case that the sellers did turn off the water, don't do a test flush because there's at least one flush left.
That's like a gun, man. You always got one bullet left.
Moving on. This is we'll see how you like this one.
Perfect.
So this is a window.
Bro, this guy's standing on that. And
this is like a ledge, right? This is a floor, and the window is just okay. So the question is, tell me it's a cheap flip without telling me it's a cheap flip.
Word, bro. What do you got to do to open? I guess you don't. So you got to ask the guy downstairs to open the window for you,
right? So like, how lazy? I mean, I understand the idea of it because it's a window, and you don't want to cut that in half, and you still want the window, but
like, come on, man.
That's not the way to do it.
Hold on. Do you think, like, I know there's a short clip here. Is that one person's, like, they have both the floors underneath and above, like right here?
I think this is a rental property.
Yeah. So like this person who's renting this space, let's just say, do they have control over the window?
No.
The guy downstairs has
control.
Whoever
has, yeah, exactly. The same way, like in some of these homes, what is it? The air, the heat, the thermostat.
Yo, yeah. It's on somebody else's floor. And you go,
right?
Oh my god.
And you gotta text your neighbor, your roomie on upstairs level, being like, "Hey, it's a little cold down here. Can you jump?"
Yo, this is when they have those situations where there's multiple tenants in one place.
Yeah.
And they'll say like, guys gotta split the utilities amongst each other. Bro, this is like to a next level. Like, you gotta split the
airflow.
Oh my god.
But yeah, cheap flip. I'm sure there's a better way to do it. You can also see the vinyl just hanging off the friggin'.
Well, yeah, like hold on, just play it one more time and just look at the filth that's down there. That's just like
dirt.
Bro, this guy's over. Like, that's so weird looking.
It's so dirty.
That's so funny.
Gross.
The things that realtors see.
Right.
Honestly, some days are you see nice houses, not a complaint to make, and then other days you're like, whoa.
Right.
Definitely
Moving
funny
on.
stuff.
This one is an interesting one.
Back.
Interesting.
This is staging, right?
This is staging.
This
right?
is staging.
This is a real photo on the MLS that an agent felt okay to post.
Bro. Okay,
I mean,
so where do you want to start? Where would you like to start? I like the material. No,
I like that it's a new Samsung washer and dryer.
Bro, still got the tape on it. Still got the clothes in the dryer though.
But when they took the photo, did they not the photographer or the agent? This looks like an agent took the photo. Not decide to take that
like, come on,
off and showcase this.
Yo, that's like kind of weird though. Like, what extra does it help for the house? Because like you would no, you
A sexy lady lives here.
Sexy lady lives here, and like me, that's just weird, man.
Yeah.
And like, bro.
So here's a follow-up question for you. Have you ever shown a house where there was a lot of, let's say, extracurriculars hanging around?
Yeah, I've been to a house and then like they had I didn't know what it was.
You didn't know.
But then clients are looking at them going, holy fuck, these guys left this thing out.
There's one where the basement tenant was a very sexual person, and just walking around, you could see their lingerie in the closet, because it was one of those basements where like they didn't have closet doors, so their lingerie was hanging out, and then you go over to their bed, you see all these handcuffs and these paddles.
Oh jeez.
And then you go over to the next side, you see all these toys just like featured on their nightstand, on their
just on display.
On display. And I'm like, ooh.
That's I've seen that one before where it was like a basement. You kind of go into the basement and it wasn't a finished basement, but there was a little corner that was set up with like a TV and like whatever. Right. And they just like walk by and just happen to notice. I'm like, I don't want anybody to see this long thing just hanging on the. That's a weird one.
This is the last one we have. This is a vacant. Let's zoom in a bit. Vacant property, right? And then there's just a rug in the middle. Now the question is it hiding something underneath?
Is it something that
or were they just
the rug to find out?
Or were they just too lazy to remove the rug?
Maybe nobody wanted to touch the rug for one of the same kind of reasons, right?
Right, right.
I don't know, like
it's got a lot hidden underground.
Could be like really, really like I don't know. Sometimes I know that this is a practical explanation, but when you put these rugs down, sometimes people put like some sort of grip or traction thing underneath, and that thing on its own over time leaves marks on the hardwood floor, so it gets really nasty to look at, and without actually, and it discolors it, like it makes it look a lot worse. Right. So maybe they figured it's like that, or they maybe just don't care.
Right. They're like, vacant property,
man. I couldn't be bothered. And like maybe when the photographer came there, he's like, whatever. The realtor looked at it, going, "What am I gonna do with this?" Right. So if not a big deal, like it's one of those things, like how you said, a photographer when they come to shoot your place, they're not setting your place up to shoot. That's actually something that the realtor will do. Right. More times, a good photographer will look over the space before they take their photos and make minor adjustments. Yeah. But there's some cases where they'll be like, I shoot it as is, where is. I don't care if there's lingerie on top of your laundry machine.
I would say, though, this is not a professional photo because of the angle at which it's being shot.
Yeah, that's like a club photo.
Yeah, so like typically in a professional photographer, what they would do is try to keep things eye level. Right, so if you can look to the right, you see the cabinet or the countertop. So they try to be at eye level with that, shooting the photo, right? But this is like you're shooting down, so you can tell it's an amateur kind of doing it. So it's probably the agent that was, or this homeowner.
Yeah, homeowner or something. But like, yeah, that's. I remember we were actually talking about that with one of our future guests we're gonna have on, with regards to like people getting mad about the quality of their photos being called out. Right. And like, yeah, some people are like, oh, why would I need to take professional photos? And I don't know. It's just, you don't need to do anything. Right. Nobody needs to do anything. You don't need to pick up your lingerie off of the laundry machine, and you don't need to, pick up a rug that really has no place anywhere. But anytime you do these things, you're hoping that it has a benefit to the people seeing your place. Like it shows it in the right light.
Yeah.
So I think it's important. Don't overlook the small things. Double check, triple check, especially when you're taking photos. You know, it's going to be on the internet.
Right, exactly.
Right? Yeah, so
Can't take it away.
That's an interesting one. Some reactions here. If you have any more funny things that you've seen or want us to
feel free to send it to us in an email.
By all means, we'd love to hear it.
Yeah, moving on.
Let's take a break in.
What are we?
Breaking the action.
Breaking the action. Let's talk about real life.
We know we have a new year coming up with maybe a whole lot of different conditions that we haven't had to navigate through in a while. And we have a lot of maybe moving parts that might change the way our future in Toronto looks like too, right?
Do you have any properties up do you have any listings up right now that
none
experiencing the market?
I have nothing listed at the moment. I'm just working with my buyers that are trying to settle themselves before the end of the year. You have something that's listed though.
I do have a listing. It's a little condo. It's been on the market as of today for about 3 days. It's a little slow, so showings haven't been as active as.
Hold on though, 3 days is 3 days, buddy.
Right, 3 days. 3 days.
3 days is 3 days.
Hey, if this was January, there'd be like 20 showings. Now I only have like 4 or 5.
That's normal though.
But I had an interaction with this agent that showed the property the other day, and it was pretty interesting. Okay. I texted him being like, hey, how'd the showing go? Do you have any feedback for me? He's like, yeah, probably shows good. But my clients have 2 problems. I'm like, okay, what are the problems? He said, 1, my client doesn't want to participate in no bidding war. I'm like, okay, fine. And it's like, and then the second question was, how much do you want? Right? Obviously we're listed a little bit below market value just so we can drive some interest and action and foot traffic through the door.
Right.
So his question is fine. Very typical question that any realtor would ask, like, hey, what
make my job easy for me, man. What do I have to write on paper?
What are your clients expecting, right?
Yeah.
So I give him a little rough little ideas, like, hey, check this.
You didn't fuck with them when you said that?
No.
Sometimes you fuck with them.
I said check the sales in the building. We're hoping for something around that, maybe like a mid-5s, right? He's like, oh, okay, well, you do know that there are 2 beds. So my product that I'm selling is a 1+1,
right?
And then he goes, you know, there's 2 beds for sale for $540 and $550, right? So you're overpriced. I'm like, okay, but what building are you looking at?
Right.
He's like, it doesn't matter. In the same area. I'm like, well, listen, buddy, there are 2+1s in this building going for $650, $700. So you telling me that it doesn't matter? It clearly does.
I like that though.
So I had to take a step back. I had to think about how I wanted to respond to this agent, and I was like, you know what? It's not worth it. I'm just going to be respectful and say, hey, I appreciate you showing it. Good luck with your search.
Right.
Left it at that.
Yeah.
4 hours later, he texts me back. Hey, if I gave you an offer for $500, $510, would your clients accept it? I'm like, no. I didn't respond to him because it was 9 o'clock. I'm not worth my time to respond.
Yeah. Right to disconnect.
Right to disconnect, right? And then this morning, he texts me at 8:30 being like, hey, I can send you an offer, and I can probably push my clients up 5:30.
Oh, 20 grand overnight.
20 grand overnight. I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
I'm like, I didn't even have to say anything.
And this guy's okay, yeah.
But I'm a believer in following your strategy and following it through. So I told them, hey, listen, give us till the weekend to see how the traffic goes and if there's any more interest, and then we can discuss later. He's like, okay, no worries. Left it at that. But I just find it funny how, the first thing he was battling me on was, listen, you're overpriced, expecting mid 500s.
And you're like, because I'm listed at, what are you listed at?
I'm listed at 449.
Buddy, you're overpriced.
And then he's like, there are other comparables in the building for sale right now that are better price. I'm like, okay, I pull them up. I look at them. One's at 520, one's at 569, and one's at 599. And I'm like, yeah, how am I
the bad guy?
The bad guy here.
But I guess, can you blame the guy for trying?
No.
He's trying to fish and trying to say like, hey, maybe this guy doesn't want to work like me. Yeah. And maybe we can make a deal, and neither of us have to work, and we just put a deal together over the phone via text. Wow.
So, but like the funny thing is, from 500 to 530 overnight. I think
that's actually really funny. You didn't even say a word.
I didn't even say a word to him.
Let that be a lesson to you people. He who speaks first loses. And like, I guess like that's the other thing too. So like, in a situation like this, you tell your clients, you show your clients, this kind of conversation, or do you
No,
let
no,
them know verbally? Like, so we'd say verbal schmerble.
Yeah.
This guy is just like literally saying a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
And if you react to it, you kind of tip him off.
Yeah.
If you show, you know, he might throw the offer.
Yeah.
So I know it's common. Like a lot of people they like to say, hey, I don't want to muck around. I just want to see if we can put this deal together and talk to you beforehand.
Right.
And that's just like a test off.
Yeah.
A square off between the two realtors.
Yeah.
They're getting a feel for you. You're getting a feel for them.
See how serious we have to be in negotiating.
Yeah. Ask the questions, like, you know, and then usually in that situation, you'll find out if the sooner the guy goes to the price, like, so what are we talking about?
Mm.
And like, I don't know. Do you have a classic? I like to respond with like, well, what have you looked at so far?
Oh,
what are you looking at?
Right.
What are you looking at? What do you think it's worth?
Yeah.
And then at least like because I'm the guy that's, if you're listing the property, you know what it's worth.
Yeah.
And they're the ones that want to find out, will their budget work with your budget? So like, I know it's common, but like, are you doing a service to your client by committing to numbers, not committing to numbers? Like,
I think you're doing a disservice when you're if your strategy is list low and then and
tell people what you want.
Telling people what you want, that kind of defeats the whole purpose.
Yeah, I think so too.
So it's more like, this is the area. Like you can look at the sales.
Work. Why do you think the seller's paying you?
Yeah.
Right? Like at the end of the day, like that's how the commission works, is where seller has paid the commissions to allow their house to be sold by somebody that brings their client, right?
Yeah.
Another real estate agent. That agent's going to be compensated for being able to bring an acceptable offer. How are you going to get compensated without even doing like lifting a finger?
Right.
Not even doing like that's actually one of my pet peeves. I'll say is from an agent to agent, they call you, say what you're expecting, ask them
nothing.
What kind of results have you, like, where have you gotten your process?
Yeah.
You know, like come up, like at least tell me how much you've done.
Yeah.
The guy will say that, Claude, man, I haven't
so
checked
busy.
anything, man. I haven't checked anything. But I will. But just tell me what you're expecting.
Yeah.
And then you could say something funny like, "Oh, we're expecting like $300,000 more than the list price," or like, "We're expecting really $2 million," or
expecting a lot of money.
The guy would be like, "Oh, wow, ha ha ha. Okay, so you're not gonna tell me? Okay, I don't have any other questions."
Yeah.
Can't blame them for trying. Like, if I'm buying and I call an agent, would you ask the same questions?
Yeah.
The same way? Or like, oh, we'll have a little bit more tact when we ask it.
Yeah.
But you never know. Somebody might just
tell
oh, hey, Tiger.
Every agent's different. Every agent has a different personality. So after like 30 seconds on the phone with them, you kind of figure out how to ask the question.
Yeah. At least this guy didn't badmouth your property.
Yeah.
Because that'd be the best. Badmouth the property, say they're not interested,
give me an offer.
give you an offer, and then increase the offer. Like, hey man, that just doesn't. There seems like dissonance going on in your head. You must be under a lot of stress, bro.
Your client's supposed to be like, we really want it, and you're just like.
But like, yeah, that's interesting. You said too, the price point that you're offering your property at is affordable.
Right.
People can afford that.
Right.
There's a lot of people that would benefit from living in a 1+1 as opposed to a studio or a smaller like one bedroom unit. You mentioned that 3 days into it, you've only had a couple showings. Mm-hmm. It's almost like we're back to this old metric that we kind of used to say, 10 days, 10 showings. Right. You get that, you're okay.
Right.
And yeah, like it's you're kind of at one a day at this point, with a weekend coming up and in a slow time of the year.
Yeah.
Nothing lasts forever, right?
Right.
And I know that this kind of takes us into our next part of our conversation. Right now, market is what it is. And a year from now, market's going to be what it is.
Yeah.
And then a year from that, it's going to be what it is. Not every year do we have something that's so volatile that shakes up the market. So I would say that the Toronto real estate market specifically, the bigger markets, they've enjoyed a very good period under the sun.
Right.
Last 20 years or so, favorable conditions, not too much volatility. Yeah, we've survived some ups and downs.
Yeah.
And now it looks like we're into a new kind of era, new situation. And again, this is not going to last forever.
Right.
But when it doesn't last, what are we going to be left with?
Here's the question: will it continue to last because of, let's say, the one of the things that realtors always bank back on in terms of like why Toronto is the best place to invest in is because of immigration.
You're right.
We've talked about it before, but we can go a little deeper today about why is it that immigration is going to affect Toronto real estate?
Let's start. Okay. So people coming to the country are important. Like, there's a reason that we're asking them to come. They fulfill a certain role here, jobs. Some of them are coming to learn so they can work at the same time. The one that you say there about how it affects real estate, I don't know personally if letting more people into the country is going to help with the prices of your homes.
Okay.
Because I'm thinking that not the majority of the people coming to the country might not be buying right away. Maybe give them 2 years, 1 to 2 years, unless they're coming with a fair amount of money, which I wouldn't think that they're the norm.
Right.
Most people probably renting stuff.
Right.
And so when they're coming here, they need a place to stay, and whether it's easy or hard, they'll find a place to stay.
Yeah.
Right. And while they work and try to get settled. So I think it helps the rental market when you have this high immigration coming in, because there's always going to be a demand for that. And then kind of indirectly from the rent price helps you boost the prices of your actual sales. Right. Yeah. But do we have enough to really offer all these people that are coming is a different story.
Yeah.
Will we give them a suitable experience here that makes them want to come here and keeps the good times rolling kind of thing? Or are we getting to the point where we need them to come here, be part of our system, to contribute to it, because overall fundamentals don't support.
We need their money to keep the money.
Is that true? I think
that's a fair.
I don't want to other anybody. I'm not trying to like say anything like that. Yeah. But like, is there a reliance on these targets? Because like, I'm just reading through tweets and stuff. It's been increasing ever since, right?
I think it helps with demand, right? So the reason why demand, the prices have gone up both in rental market and in the sales in the past is because of inventory and the demand for it, right? So when people are coming into Canada for work, they need a place to rent, they need a place to stay. So that's eating up students as well. Right. It's eating up a lot of the inventory that people have.
Right.
And then and the lack of inventory is, or the rate at which these properties are being taken, and
it's faster than they can be replenished. But I guess that also then leads us to think what can be done, because like if we have a situation,
get the fuck out of Toronto.
Well, no, here, before you get the fuck out of Toronto, they've made the recent change with regards to multiple dwelling units.
Right.
So what if we can clarify the rule for everybody? I believe it's just that there's, in a simplified way of thinking about it, less red tape regarding turning your house into a multi-dwelling unit, right?
I think you can build like 3 units and.
So let's just bring that up and clarify that for everybody. But there might be a tendency for the actual solution to the problem of supply with relationship to how many people are coming might not be so easily fixed. And a future forward thinking government or municipality might notice that there's just no way they're going to be able to do it. And so when you see policies like this come into effect, it almost feels like they're giving the public the chance to pick up the slack. Mm-hmm. Like, yeah, we know we don't have enough units. We know we have a problem with this, but we can't do it, and we want to help you build. We want to help you, seek return in the markets by allowing you to do this, which would have been our job to do, but frankly, we can't do it. Now, we'll just clarify. This is coming from CP24. Ontario government announced numerous changes to housing-related legislation in an effort to meet its pledge of building 1.5 million homes in 10 years. Right. So let's just put it this: that's Ontario, 1.5 million homes in 10 years, and within the next 3 years, the government has elected to, on average, take in about 500,000 people. That's federally, right? But you can assume that there's going to be a hefty amount that come to Toronto.
I'll say like 50% comes to the major city cores.
So like if those are the numbers, those are the targets that they're having, they're saying they want to bring $1.5 million new homes. Like, then you start asking the question, like, are they going to be anything like the prices that we see today? Are they going to be affordable for who they're going to be affordable for? So are you going to build houses to meet the demands of your existing population, or are these being built to sell to people that are coming here to work and do their you know what I mean? Who are you building the houses for?
Well, the other caveat to this too is like a lot of people aren't going to be tearing their houses down and building like 3 townhouses on that lot, right?
No, it's a big process.
So
right?
it's more so that they're gonna instead of having a duplex, you can have a triplex.
Can you just why don't you take on that the changes to the zoning laws, because that's where we were kind of just left off on.
So now you're gonna be able to have up to 3 units will be allowed on a single residential lot without any bylaw amendments.
Or municipal permissions. Okay, cool.
Duplexes and triplexes will also be allowed on single residential lots. Site plans will be reviewed to be blah blah blah. That doesn't matter.
That one's pretty big right there. Duplexes and triplexes will be allowed on single residential lots. Like, that's what I mean by, are they being the government, and the municipality, the planning guys, basically saying like, fuck, our hands are tied. We're not going to be able to do this as fast as potentially the consumers could do this.
Right.
And if the consumers do this, they might have this is where the investor guy comes in and says, yo, immigration, why would I do this?
Right.
Why would I want to turn a single residential lot into a duplex or a triplex? Maybe it's because we have a strong rental demand for property that will stay strong, and maybe it's worth my money to do this.
This is good for investors, but at the same time, it's not good in the sense if you're converting every bungalow to a duplex or triplex, where are people going to move to when they want their own space,
exactly, right?
Because these are all rental properties. These aren't live forever homes.
No, and so like you end up getting that situation where what are the underlying impacts of this, like you're letting a lot of people in.
Yeah.
If we need it, we need it. Mm-hmm. They're coming and they come to the major city centers first.
Right.
And then if these end up being converted into, hey, we want to help more people live in this neighborhood. We already know there's NIMBYs out there that don't like this stuff happening.
Yeah.
People that will, get a little bit upset because their neighborhoods are potentially turning into this. So, hey man, turn your phone off.
Mm-hmm.
Stupid. But yeah, so like when we end up seeing more people coming into a smaller space, like this is only finite. When they say you can only have so much real estate, does this mean we're going to start seeing bigger lots? Being, hey, no more bigger houses. We're gonna have rooming houses.
We're
gonna have rooming houses next to neighbor. Like, our neighborhood's gonna get transformed this way, or is this really just saying we're trying? You guys can try, but we're gonna have a problem.
Do you remember back a couple of years ago? There was an article that was there were a couple of articles being pushed around, being like millennials and Gen Zs don't want to own property anymore. They just want to they want to cohabitate with people.
Right.
So this would be that shift. So we have more duplexes and triplexes. People will be buying as a group. And it's like, you live in the bottom floor, I live in the middle, you live on the top, and we get to own property.
So then let's think about, if they can't buy that lot, you got to buy the lot first to be able to transform it. If the lot is costing you more than you can afford at the moment, fine. That means that you're going to have to bring
more money,
2 people to the table to take a house down that they could probably live in and rent in on their own right now, to add just an additional unit or something. Yeah. It's a lot of capital for people that really don't have the capital. Housing affordability seems to be the issue. Yeah. If there was a change, like, should a person from a different country be able to buy a new home in Canada, or should that right be going to Canadians first?
I think it should be to Canadians first, unless the foreign buyer who's buying it has to live in it.
Understandable.
Right. If they buy it, they have to live in it at least for a year.
Buy it. If you want to buy it, get your citizenship. Right? I don't know. I think that's an interesting one. Like, a lot of people want to point the finger and say this, group's coming in and they're bidding up our market. Whether or not this is actually going to have an effect on our market. It's coming into a time when the market's already doing its thing, right?
We already saw, though, in like 2017, 2018, when they introduced that foreign buyer's tax. Nothing was affected. Like, we noticed that the foreign investor market wasn't as big as we were told it was.
Yeah.
Right.
That's what they told us.
That's what they told us. The media always tells us the truth, right?
Yeah. That was, that actually reminds me of this. Like, kind of reminds me of a story where showing property at the winter last year, around this time, and it was so busy that, like, you had six different sets of people walking through the house at the same time, double booked, triple booked, whatever. And then I was just standing outside while my clients were leaving and we had finished talking. And then one gentleman was standing on the driveway as well. And then, he just kind of approached me after and he goes, "This is a very nice house. This is a very nice house." I'm like, "Yeah, it's a very nice house. A lot of people out here might want to buy it."
Right.
He goes, "Want to buy it so we can make money." Just looked me dead in the eye. Goes, "Well, we want to buy it so we can make money." And this guy was just like, grade A speculator. Grade A speculator. He's just like, "It's good, everything good. Like we're here to make money. We're gonna make money." It's like, "You don't want the house. You don't need the house."
Yeah.
Oh, no. Like, nah. So yeah, I don't know if it's gonna be enough to actually hold down the future. Hey, Tiger, you all right, man?
Come on, Tiger.
Down, man. You all right? All right, buddy. But yeah, the future of real estate and that, do we end up looking like a real landlord kind of city?
Right.
Where
no one really owns.
Well,
majority don't own.
If you don't own, like, I don't know, there's going to be pockets where most people own. But like, what is going to shape our city to look like going forward? Like when they say they're going to build this many new homes, like, again, I'm just wondering, like, what does that mean? How many are going to be of a certain size? Like, remember when they were building all the studio units? Studio units is like turning into how much rent can you demand for that unit? Yeah. And you can't put two people into it. No. It's hard to. No, you could do it if you
can barely fit one person in there, bro.
So one other thing I guess we can say is, like, when people are coming to the country and they might be comparing it to where they're coming from, it makes it sometimes a whole lot easier to buy into what you see is going on here.
Yeah. Buy into the hype.
Buy into the hype, more or less, right? So like, I know Toronto has this whole thing, Toronto versus everybody. I'm not gonna say no. Power to Toronto. But I don't know. We get a bad rap.
We do get a bad rap.
Why? Like, people are like, "Oh, everybody out there just loves to overpay for stuff and overpay for this and overpay for that," and you're all think you're the center of the universe. And I'm like, I don't know.
Overpay is a little like, you go to New York and it's expensive there. You go to California, LA, it's expensive there. It's the demand because the city hub and all the the variety of work is there. Yeah. Right. If you're going to, like, not to shit talk any other province, if you go to like fucking Alberta, there's not much you can do. There's work, but there's not as much work.
But they're doing good out there too.
They're doing good.
Apparently, like, if they can attract talent, if they can attract people to go there, the cost of living is significantly less. Yeah. Their market's doing pretty good.
When you suffer through a winter in Alberta, you really want to be there again?
That's, I think, some of the things. Like, people are like, the market doesn't lie. When people come, they're coming to these places. They're going there for a reason. Yeah. They're the major markets, right? Mm-hmm. So I hope that we don't end up getting into a situation where all we've done is exacerbate a problem. Yeah. And I know we've always, like, since I got into real estate, I've always heard that we have a supply issue. It's not going anywhere quick. And when we think about why we'll be all right,
people want to be
down
here.
To that. If people want to be here and we don't have enough of things that they can be here with or be here in, like living in, then there will always be a demand for it. Yeah. As long as the conditions aren't too uncertain. Yeah. Kind of, if you want to put a stop there and go into the next one, like, is our market as strong as we hope and wish it was?
Is our market as strong as we hoped it was?
Interesting term that we can use to look at it. It's coming from this book that I was getting at. Fragile versus anti-fragile. Okay. And real estate's a complex kind of system, I would say. And in this market specifically, we saw how sensitive we are to interest rates. Not only from a house perspective, like what you're paying on your mortgage, but just from an overall lifestyle perspective. If you're paying for it at very low interest rates, it's not a big a deal. But when your interest payments balloon, in addition to how much it costs to live, and your wages stay wherever they stay, it has an effect. It does. And we've seen an effect now with almost a tripling of the overnight Bank of Canada rate to where we are now. And it's put, like, the brakes on the market.
Brakes on everyone.
Brakes on everybody. We're seeing lows, like when we say, like, almost historic lows.
I'm almost considering canceling my Disney Plus subscription.
Oh, perfect. Perfect. You know what I mean? You got to save wherever you can save, right? And she was the same one. Getting to that. You just struck a nerve, I think. in case you're not sure, that's our finance minister, Cynthia Freeland, had made some. They didn't age well. It was only a day or two ago that she made the comment, but she was basically like, times are tough. I get that, and we have to do our part. And just the other day, we had a conversation with our kids, and I said, we're not really watching Disney Plus, so we're gonna go ahead and cancel that. And we did go ahead and cancel that. And I encourage every Canadian household, every Canadian mother to consider where they can save, because every little bit counts. And you're just like, what the nerve on you?
And then you look into her. She has 4 properties in her own name.
She's like almost 300K.
Makes 200K. Like yeah.
And then she actually had to come out and say something like, I'm sorry, my comments were not in touch with reality. I understand that I'm privileged. I understand that I'm at a bitter position. And it's just like, yeah, that's the problem. That's called you're not being affected by the decisions you guys make.
Yeah.
You're okay. So it's not
it's like saying I decided to have one bottle of Corona instead of 2 because of inflation.
Yeah, you know what I mean. Like what they're basically telling everybody there, be more or less like frugal about your stuff, like the things that you don't need. And then isn't that very funny about? There's a parallel, I guess. In the pandemic, they try to tell you what was essential, not essential, and now economically speaking, you're gonna find out what's essential, not essential, kind of thing. But it's not everybody's position. Not everybody's in a world of hurt right now. People are still transacting. People still have money. Like there are buyers out there that I'm working with personally. Like you're working with them too. They have money. They stack. They have their money. They didn't buy anything when they didn't need to, or they just have reserve money. And they want to do something.
So going back to anti-fragile versus fragile, do you believe Canadian real estate is fragile or anti-fragile?
Canadian real estate.
Toronto
real estate is I think the one of the definitions that they provide in the book is like, if the thing you're talking about, the system that you're talking about or whatever, has more upside than downside in the face of uncertainty, then it's considered anti-fragile. Like if it benefits from volatility. On the other side, any small little change to it could set it off going the other way. So the only recent examples that I can really look at here are interest rates. Have what they've done. Anytime the interest rates have creeped up, it's had an effect on our market. That's, to me, a relationship that's already been established. People know that. That's not new news or anything. But then when we start looking at all... Tiger. Stay up there, buddy. When we start looking at other things, like here's your interest rate. Here's your number of sales. Here's how many sales we can expect on a 5-year average or something. And we start saying like it's getting low. If you were to take out some of these major components, like immigration we're talking about, like low interest rates that we're talking about, that's strong demand, and favorable appreciation over time. And when you start taking some of these things apart, if it's not for that, do we really have what we have? And can we always bank on it just because it's always been there? So it's like, it's hard to say. The past doesn't always predict the future. So if things were to change, could we expect our real estate market to change too? Like, I think so.
I think it'll change a little bit. But like, I think in terms of like, the demand is still there. It's just on pause. Yeah. So like, interest rates were very cheap for a while, but then they're going to go back to a normal.
How would you gauge? Sorry to pin you right there, but how would you gauge the demand? And when you say it's still there, but it's low, is there anything that you look at particularly as an indicator?
Tales from the streets is that any good property that shows well is move-in ready are getting their 25, 50 offer, not 50, but 25, 30 offers on them still, right? So there are people who are still waiting for the right thing.
It's true.
It's just a matter that people aren't desperate to like
buy a shitty property.
They're like, we're willing to wait for what we like because it's not FOMO anymore. It's like we are buying specifically.
So that means like they can afford to wait.
Yeah.
Like in their like
what is it going to cost them to wait a year? Nothing.
Not much.
Like if the interest rates go up or go down, you're still winning at the end of it, because if anything, it might be cheaper for you by a year from now, right? Or if anything, it might be just a little bit more expensive, but the interest rates are still low. are a little lower, right? Fucking
This
tiger.
little guy won't stay up, right?
So
Yeah.
so it's like that's why a lot of people are choosing to rent because they're like, either way, we'll rent for a year and we'll see how the market goes, and if anything, we'll no matter what happens, we'll be winning.
Right. And I think that we've seen that happen with when it comes to investing in real estate. There's certain things that you want to see there, and that you feel comfortable investing, knowing that these things are happening. So when we see things like appreciation, when we see things like immigration targets being met, and we see fiscal policy so that, hey, we want to encourage people to do stuff. Canada's been doing it.
Right.
We definitely had a different run up to where we are here when you look at other markets too. Like you see all these I guess from Better Dwelling and from many of the other real estate sources, just where Canada stacks up compared to the rest of the world. And I think that when you look at real estate across the world, the returns aren't necessarily as high as you see in GTA. Like, this is not a normal market. It's not reflective of like a baseline. But then it's like you shouldn't treat it as such.
Yeah.
It's
average appreciation should be around 2 to 4%.
Something like that.
Right. So when we're gonna see people be more conscious of their decision, like, you're not gonna make your 6-figure salary in 4 months anymore. It's not a thing.
And that was just catchphrase too. Like, at the end of the day, you still have to sell the property in order to realize those gains.
Yeah.
But I know that like now, if you end up thinking about investing at a time in a city like this, where we can point back to when we first started getting into the industry.
Yeah.
The old timers at that time were saying nobody would pay X amount for this product.
Right.
And maybe we were talking about condos, and it was like, for $500 a square foot, nobody's going to touch this thing.
No one's going to touch it.
You know what I mean? And then you go back 10 years from that and go, when they offered these things, they were $100,000. Nobody was going to buy them for that.
Right.
There's always going to be yay and nay happening in the market. I think we're not as fragile as
other markets, but we can still be.
We're not fragile to the point where any little thing could just throw us off.
Yeah, it takes a lot.
I think what we've seen, why I can say that is, so just looking back 2016, 2017, that was a period of a little bit of volatility and a little bit of uncertainty. There were new rules that came into place, and the market took the punch, it took it
for 2 months.
Maybe went down for like a second, or maybe got phased for a second, but then came back once people figured out, okay, it's still the same country, it's still the same thing. They're not just going to rock the boat right away.
Right.
And then to think that we just came through a pandemic. This is, I think, the part that's you got to be careful what you want to believe in this situation, because I think buyers want to think that the market is fragile as fuck right now, and sellers want to really believe that no, we'll be fine.
Yeah.
Right. So there are two different ends of the spectrum. But yeah, when it comes to the actual buyer saying, okay, I want to buy something, but I want to buy it my way. I want to make sure that it's the property that I want. That's the demand.
Yeah.
If they know that property's out there, their money's okay if they, have other places to park it. But when they see what they want, they buy it. We're still seeing people buy properties. Yeah.
Thanks for tuning in. See you next week.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.